Yeah, I will.
I'm not necessarily someone to be like, hi, I'm this person. I have the right to present.
I have a slide about that. I will introduce myself. Hello.
What time is it?
No. Yeah, and I think it works. Thank you.
All right. So we've got a couple minutes before our presenters will come up. We've got two today. Yeah, so just keep questions in mind. We'll get those afterwards. There's not much more that I have to say. I just wanted to let everyone know that it's going to be starting soon. All right. I think we've got everyone pretty settled in, so we're going to go ahead and get started. And
Hello. My name is Maciej. I work in Creative Planet. But be- Before I work in Creative Planet, I was also a live show presenter in Warsaw's Planetarium. And I have a memory from Warsaw's Planetarium when I was having a live show. It was a nice one. And then some teenagers were leaving the dome and they said that that was worse than ugly Minecraft ripoff. And you know, that's Minecraft. So I thought that they have some expectations when they enter the dome. And in this presentation, I'd like to share with you what are my ideas, or my understanding, how to fill the expectations and to make sure the visuals looks as they expect. So let's imagine an average kid or teenager. And it is a joke. Oh, sorry. But it isn't a joke because it shows that they spend a lot of time with a pop culture. And they have a lot of references. They play games, they watch Pixar movies, they watch IMAX movies, they watch Marvel movies. They have the reference, and they know what they expect. So the solution is that we can also do the Pixar movies for the planetarium. Thank you. That's another joke, of course. That's not possible. There are several reasons. One of those is the budget. Those are the budgets of the mainstream movies, the blockbusters, like hundreds of millions of dollars, easily. But if we think about the planetarium movies, this is our budget. And in terms of planetariums, it was not a cheap movie, it was expensive. It can get a little higher in the industry. I just had the random questions here outside, and it can go up to like 2 million, but not above. On the other hand, this is also how it looks if you compare the poster size to the amount of money. But on the other hand, if you produce the movie for the cinema, you have to render way less. Because if you compare how many pixels you have to render for a 1-minute clip, if this is the area of the 1-minute clip pixels, this is full dome. It's 15 times more. So it's not so easy to do that, and it's not possible to do only Pixar movies for planetariums. So what to do? There is another pop culture reference that can help us. Have you ever been to theater, like the normal classical theater with the actors and scenography? It doesn't look good. It does. It does look good, but funny fact, they don't build the real buildings there if they need the buildings in the play. They made them out of plywood, hot glue, cardboard. And why does it look good? And some things in planetarium doesn't. There are, I think, 3 rules. First one, in my opinion, visuals has to be aesthetic. Just that. We pay attention to the details. I have an example for you. Which one would you eat? It might be the same sandwich, but without paying attention to the details, it looks like on the left, and not everyone would took it. Second rule, visuals have to be, in my opinion, consistent in style, and now will be the most silly example why it should be like that. You don't write letters like this until you have a purpose to write it like this. And the third one, and I think the most important, visuals has to be delivered. What I mean, if you build a ladder and it does not work, you are not using it because you die. I don't mean we die in planetariums, but it's very often that we see on the dome that there is some idea and someone tries to do something, but it didn't work, but let's put it anyway. And teenagers are very, they see that immediately. And in planetariums, we do have a cardboard and a hot glue. Do you remember the old style panoramas around? I think they are beautiful. And they are not made by Pixar. It's just the cardboard, maybe metal, some LEDs. So there is a planetarium in Chorzów, the oldest one, the biggest one, and they just had the refurbishment. And I was reading the tender, and there was written like 10 projectors, 4K projectors, 8K resolution of the projection. The only thing I was looking for, do they keep the panorama? And they did. And it's beautiful. So, to wrap it up, in my opinion, visual has to be aesthetic, that's spelled wrongly, I guess, consistent in style, and delivered. And if you take a look at Minecraft, it follows those rules, actually. And people play. There are millions of players, and no one complains. And we know that sometimes for the live show, it's not possible to create the visuals that we would like to have following the rules, because there is no budget, like $0, no time. So because we created a movie about the seasons and we have the settings for the seasons, we decided to create some assets for live shows that you can use in a planetarium. Those are free, so you can scan, download, and have it. There are quite a lot of settings there. I like that one the most because it reminds me of my first visit to United States. I traveled to Denver, to Immersa. There are a couple of you was there as well. I remember the blizzards. I was checking the weather at home. It says 15 degrees. Good. Yeah. So you have those Fahrenheit, whatever. Yeah, that would be it. Thank you very much.
All right, if anyone has any questions, you can come up to the mic so that we can hear you. And yeah.
I wanted to thank you for putting your assets up for free.
Yeah.
I don't have a question. I just want to thank you for that because that's something that the live presenters really crave. You know, live presenters with low budgets need that. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you. And we know they are being used. They have been downloaded many times. Many planetariums, mobile planetariums are using it. So be invited. That would be a pleasure.
On the same line, if we're using your free visuals, what's the proper way to credit you? Do you want a credit during the program at the end? Should it be credited on the website?
No credits. It is written, we wrote in we give you the assets together with the short rules. And in rules, it is written that you can create shows for your own theater, but you cannot produce other, like third-party things to then redistribute. So in your own theater, you can simply put it. Thank you.
All right, well, we've got some extra time before our next presenter, if there's any other questions at all.
The thing that's really impressed me so much about your productions is the attention that you give to your character animation and the way, and so how much of your efforts would you say you spend on rigging your characters to move so realistically?
I would say a lot. Maybe some of you have seen the teaser that we showed the other day, and we committed that it would be ready next year in June. The animation and the time for the animation is the only thing that we are afraid of. This is the only thing that we are afraid that we will not make it on time. The rest is easier, I believe, right?
Some help with setup here. What the hell am I doing? Let's maybe not look at my froggy background. Yes, it does. Thank you for asking. Oh, gee whiz, I don't know if I have one. Is that a good one?
That's it.
Okay.
And then
You've done all right.
to just make sure that the computer is actually
Not muted.
well, and that it's sending to that rather than this.
Oh, okay. I guess we could play something quickly. Well, actually, I don't want to give away the slides. I guess I'll give away the slides.
The solar system
Yep.
has
All
8
right.
planets orbiting.
Yeah, the sound works. We love it when things work. All right, and does this attach? Can I? All right. I'll wait for that.
All right, good morning, everyone. My name is Ellen Torres-Thompson. I am the Planetarium Lead Educator at the Lawrence Hall of Science, the University of California at Berkeley's Public Science Center. Prior to my full-time role in the Dome, I served as an astronomy summer camp educator at the Hall, and before that, I actually got my start as a student planetarium presenter while studying astrophysics at Cal. Go Bears. Today, I'm super excited to be sharing with all of you a project that has actually been a long time coming at the Lawrence. For a long time, its working title was Dome as Exhibit, and we are releasing it to the public with the catchy name Planetarium Pilots. We're releasing it very soon. In fact, Planetarium Pilots launches as a daily exhibit today at 12:45 Pacific time, so just a few short hours from now. Before I say too much about the program itself, just a quick background on the Lawrence Planetarium. As I'm sure many of you already actually know, the Lawrence was a participatory planetarium program pioneer. Try saying that 5 times fast. Basically, since the 1970s, we have been developing fully interactive live shows in-house and presenting those to the public. Our programs really depend on connection with the audience. The presenter and the audience are in conversation. We're always asking lots of open-ended questions. And every one of our programs has lots of activities that are hands-on, minds-on. So we've continued this tradition of live interactive programming through to the present, to today, and we are now continuing to push those frontiers of live interactive programming with a fully guest-driven experience. And what does this mean? I'll say more, but to my knowledge, this has never quite been done before in this style, so we are going where no one has gone before. Woo! All right, let's see. What is Planetarium Pilots? Well, as the working title Dome as Exhibit suggests, we are utilizing the Dome as an exhibit space when our public normal programs are not running. So usually we have about an hour and the Dome is just empty. Well, now we are opening it up to the public and it's free. It's an exhibit, and by definition, an exhibit is actually usually self-guided. So this can be staffed by someone with minimal training. I don't have to train a presenter to give a high-quality live presentation. I can have any member of my team, a member of the student staff, even a teen volunteer in there, and they're acting as a docent. They just need some minimal training on troubleshooting the system and crowd management. So let's say that you're the first visitor to a session of Dome as Exhibit, rather Planetarium Pilots now. You'll be led in by a docent. They'll tell you to mind your step while you let your eyes adjust, and you'll be led over to a tablet displaying a graphic user interface. On the Dome, you'll see the opening default visual we have is an orbit of Earth. The Earth is slowly rotating. You see our logo. And let's find out what you'll discover on the tablet itself. So you'll see page 0 of this is a version 1.0 of our GUI. This is the first page that you would see. And you might notice that this visual is kind of dull. Now, that is very intentional, right? We don't want people staring down at a super pretty tablet the whole time. We want them looking up. So this is intentionally quite plain. And right now, you have 3 options. You can explore the solar system, the galaxy, or the universe. Let's say that you select solar system. All right, so now your tablet is displaying a wait screen. We have our little rocket icon saying that you're on a flight path. And if you actually want to change your mind and escape, you can tap that home icon. So while this is happening, you're looking up at the Dome, because that's what you're supposed to do, and you're having a very immersive experience. You're going to be seeing a flight path. In this case, you'll be leaving Earth, and you're going out to the edge of the solar system, seeing those concentric orbits, those rainbow lines, and you are hearing some audio narration. I'll play a short clip of this, and perhaps you'll recognize the narrator's voice.
The solar system has 8 planets orbiting around the sun, as well as asteroids, comets, and more. Pick an object to learn more.
All right, that clip was intentionally quite short, but you can imagine you actually do make it out to the edge of the solar system. And now on your tablet, you have quite a few options. You have this touch icon that is letting you know you can actually rotate around the scene, so you can rotate that plane of the solar system. That's quite fun. Of course, we have the friction on really high, so no one throws up in the Dome. And we have lots and lots of solar system objects here to choose from. We have minor planets where you'll eventually find Pluto. We have the sun. We have the planets of the solar system. All right, raise your hand if your favorite planet is Jupiter. Woo, Jupiter fans in the room, it is your lucky day. Me too. We are flying over to Jupiter. Let's say you tap Jupiter, you'll see that weight icon on the tablet once again, and here's what you'll be experiencing in the dome.
Jupiter is the 5th planet from the Sun and the largest planet in the solar system. Pick a question below to learn more, or pick one of Jupiter's largest moons.
All right, so now Jupiter is up on the dome. It's huge. It's in its full glory. And on the tablet, you have lots more options. Again, you can touch it, spin around. Maybe you want to find the great red spot. You can pick one of the Galilean moons to fly on over to. And you can pick a question to have answered. In our live programs, we always get tons of questions about the gas giants, as I'm sure you all do in your domes. So we have 2 pages of questions for Jupiter. If you tap more there, you'll see even more questions. Quite a few of these clips actually have supplementary visuals on top of the astronomy as well. For example, if you select how many moons does Jupiter have, you'll get a little spiel from that amazing voice about the scientist Galileo, of course, and you'll see a little portrait of him on the dome. And after some time, maybe you'll exhaust all of these questions. You can go back to the solar system to explore another solar system object, or you can go back home to select universe or galaxy. All right, a little background on how we have built this thing. So some of you may recognize that the astronomy visuals you're seeing are open space. So shout out to our friends from the American Museum of Natural History for getting us up to speed on open space. Thank you. And the composer you're seeing here, where World Viewer is, this is World Viewer, it's porting through open space, the Illuminati's World Viewer tool. It's essentially a media mashup tool, so this is where we are putting together all of those voiceovers and the astronomy visualization, any supplementary visuals. So we have a couple code blocks here. The first one is everything happening in World Viewer, so the voiceovers playing, the weight screen playing on the tablet, so this is also where we're building the graphic user interface. And then our other block here is just the open space command. So for the clip you just saw, simply the flight path to Jupiter. So we're going to keep building this constantly, right? Very iterative design process. We're always going to be having new ideas. We're going to want to incorporate visuals from folks who have those assets available for us. Thank you. And we're going to add stuff. More space stuff is discovered, as it always is, right? But as soon as we had our first working prototype, we were eager to see it in action with the public. So we ran some formative evaluation the weekend of May 20th through 21st, and it was a very productive weekend. Shout out to Alan Gould for taking these photos. Here we have me helping some visitors get acquainted with the tablet. They have selected the Galaxy module. This kid over here is gonna get spaghettified. So this was a very, very productive weekend for us. We made lots of exciting observations. On the qualitative side, there were some surprises. We were concerned about folks getting glued to that tablet, right? Eyes on tablet, but that was not happening. People were really good about selecting something and looking immediately up. Sometimes kids would even pick something and then go run to a seat and enjoy a flight through the universe from a cozy seated position. We also had some surprises with patience. I thought maybe folks would come in, see that someone else is flying, and I don't want to wait. But no, people came in. They were excited to just sit down and enjoy an experience that another visitor was curating. Then they would get their turn. And then sometimes they would actually sit back down. They wouldn't immediately leave. They would sit back down. Maybe the next kid picks the same thing they just saw, and yet they're still having a good time being in there. We also had some really great engagement, right? Kids were super into this. Sometimes they'd be picking planet after planet, and the dome was filling up with other visitors waiting their turn, and so I'd have to go up to them and say, "Hey, friend, you've done a great job flying. Let's let another friend have a turn." And of course, there were instances of parents forcibly dragging their children out of the dome. Lots of fun. On the quantitative side, we had approximately 110 visitors to the exhibit over the course of the weekend, and that equated to about 15% of total museum visitors that weekend, which I found really interesting because that value is equivalent to the percentage of total guests who buy a planetarium ticket for our regular programs. Now, our regular programs are heavily marketed. This thing was not. You would have only known about the beta test if you happened to be in the museum that day. We did a few announcements. We had a sign saying beta testing, come on in, but we still had a lot of engagement, a lot of folks coming coming in. So we're really excited that now we are launching to the public. We're getting that marketing out there. We think this is going to be a very popular space. And I also want to emphasize that it is free. So folks who maybe didn't have the interest level to buy a ticket now are going to come into the Dome and then want to go get that ticket to our next interactive show. All right, that is all from me. Thank you so much, and I am happy to answer questions.
Hey, Ellen, that was a great idea, and I love the whole idea of the interactive and not during an actual show. I was curious because I've been to museums before with kids where they like to push a button, and then it's just starting, they push a button again, and push it. Is it set up in a way to allow at least that segment to go all the way through before you can interact with it again? Or does it, or would it, like if a kid just kept hitting, kind of get jammed up?
Currently, the way that we have it set up is that, say, you click Jupiter, and then I change my mind, I want to go to Saturn. You might have noticed in the coding blocks there, actually, before the relevant voiceover plays, any other voiceovers are muted, so Ellen is interrupted by Ellen. And I think our thinking there is just that, if they really want to see something else, they really want to see something else. But also, one thing that we noticed during our beta test was that families were very collaborative, and this is something we always see at every exhibit in the museum. But, parents would be helping their kids get associated with the tablet and helping them say, oh, well, you have to wait. And so maybe it's teaching some patience. There's some multi-skill learning happening there. But we could also change it so that you're forced to sit through me.
This is really great, thank you. So how do you envision fitting this into your schedule eventually? Like how much time do you expect to devote to this as a part of your schedule, different from your paid programming, your regular shows? And then how do you manage safety and security?
Great questions. Yeah, so with scheduling, our staff schedule says that this is happening 15 minutes after the last program through to 15 minutes before. So you, Connolly, are in the Dome from 11:45 until 12:45. But our marketing to the public is just drop in between shows, because sometimes the last live interactive show is going to run super over because of questions, or maybe we are having some trouble getting set up. So no strict times being marketed to the public. We won't have it open the very first hour of the museum. Often that time is reserved for school camps, but we'll definitely have the program happening 3 times a day. So I think right now it's 11:45 to 12:45, 2:45 to 3:45, and then the last hour of the day through to 5. And then safety and security, that's a bit of a challenge, right? We know that, usually in our live shows, the scene is daytime, and so you come in and it's as light as it's going to get in there. But during this, you're going to come in and someone is out in the middle of nowhere. The Dome is very dark. So we have a few ideas. Of course, we have caution tape on all of our cable troughs, anything in there that's trippable. We're going to have our cove lights fully up the entire time. Folks spend about an average of 15 minutes in there, so their eyes might not even fully adjust for the time that they're in there anyways. Another idea that I have, I got to figure out how to go about, is getting like a little basket of red flashlights and take one, bring it back when you're done. Yeah, thank you.
Just one real quick question. A lot of pre-recorded show licensing is based on attendance numbers as well as revenue. We looked at models of letting people come in and out of the planetarium before, but we were worried it would affect the pricing of our show licenses. I was wondering if you thought about how to take that into account.
Right, yeah. I was really happy that management went with my argument that it should be a free program, because it's going to bring other folks in, and you can pry the free program out of my hands. But we're not canceling any of our other shows to make room for this free thing. We're still doing our 3 interactive programs a day. We're still doing camp shows, and the camps bring in a lot of revenue for the museum. So I'm personally not concerned. I'm excited, but there's probably going to be conversations to be had with marketing.
Actually, I don't have a question. I just wanted to, you were talking about licensed programs from companies, right? We don't use those, so that's actually not a question for us. So that would be a general question if other people wanted to do that. And the other thing is that Ellen mentioned cove lights being up. At the Lawrence Hall of Science, our cove lights are defined differently. They point down, they don't point up, because we always use them for reading star maps or making drawings, things like that.
Yes, thank you for the clarification, Alan. Also, I took your question and I changed it to a question that I wanted to answer a little bit there. Any other questions?
There's plenty of time for more questions, by the way, if anyone.
Have you thought about setting a timer on the tablet so that, especially if you've got a line of people who want to interact with it, they only get a minute or 2 minutes, and then thank you for playing?
That's a really good question for those busy days. I mean, on a Wednesday morning in February, if it's one kid who wants to be in there for an hour, that's cool. But yeah, a timer would be great because right now, we have Science on a Sphere at our facility, and many of the students who are trained on planetarium are trained on Science on a Sphere. And so we have a kiosk there, and student staff are really good about seeing, oh, that kid really wants to try, let me ask this kid to step away. Parents are always good about, okay, we gotta let someone else try, or we gotta go eat our snack or whatever. But a formal timer is a good idea.
So you said you have the home button if case they want to like change their mind and go back to try something else. How does that transition look on the dome? Does it like fly back? Does it fade out and fade back in? Or
Great question. I think this is very cute. The home button will always take you back to Earth.
Sorry, this is a bit of a shameless plug. Sorry. IPS is forming a ad hoc committee for games and interacting with the dome. This is really cool. I would love to chat to you about that later, but if anybody else is doing cool stuff, because there's only so many of these presentations and it's hard to shoulder tap people, come see me.
Oh, thank you so much for sharing. One thing that brings to mind to me is that one of the challenges with the tablet is that some very young children are not quite good with the tablet yet. And we actually don't have a Zoom feature on that tablet yet. We're banging on the Illuminati's doors asking them to make that possible on the tablet. But some other ideas, well, we've thought about the Xbox controller that some domes have in use. That's super cool, but we have such little kids, like that might even be a little complicated. So we're actually working on a handheld mouse that only has your Zoom toggle and like one button to click things. So I'm interested to collaborate more on gaming styles in the planetarium. Thank you.